Supermarket giant Loblaw has revealed its financial results for its latest quarter. Sales and profits were both higher. Company executives aim for these results, but these days, the big grocery names are also being asked to justify those numbers. Jeannie Lee is here now with more on all of this. So, Jeannie, first of all, how's business at Loblaw?
Pretty brisk, Hillary, especially when you look at the discount banner, which is the self-explanatory no frills. It definitely has less selection but lower prices because of its emphasis less on brand names but more on no-name brands and store brands. Now, consumers, of course, are hunting down lower food prices however they can, and that helps Loblaw no matter what, because all of its banners run the gamut between super basic all the way up to fancy. And, you know, we know that from names such as Value Mart, Real Canadian Superstore, Fortino's, and Loblaw itself, plus Shoppers. So have a look at what all of this gave Loblaw, the company. Sales totaled $14 billion in the latest quarter, the last quarter of last year, and that was up roughly 10% from a year earlier. Profit was more than $500 million, $529 million, which was up roughly 11.7%, actually exactly 11.7% from a year ago. And the grocery inflation rate, we wanted to point this out just as a very rough comparison of what was going on with prices alone. 11.2% was the increase or the rate in the last quarter, so that sort of goes with that profit increase as well. And we wanted to say this because sales, of course, the value of sales would rise if prices of individual items being sold were going up, and they certainly were, and that's a very close correlation right there. Sales grew the most, though, in those lower price brands, again, because people need to save money, but also on higher margin items, things such as cold and cough remedies, which Loblaw was pointing out because, of course, it's flu season, and still with COVID around, everyone's trying to self-medicate themselves to feel better with over-the-counter medicines, but also cosmetics, Hillary. This is a well-known fact. When times turn tough, people need a little treat. Well, they're going to maybe buy a new lipstick or something because that's cheap and fun for a little while anyway.
And Jeannie, when we're talking about those numbers, about those profits, how did some of these executives answer when asked if that's an unjustified profit?
Well, that's it. Everyone, who's felt really squeezed by food prices wants to know why profits are continuing to go up. If it is because of actual price inflation, yes, Loblaw has to buy items at a higher price and therefore has to pass those along. Or is it because of profit inflation? And so very hard to measure all of those components, of course, but we saw the close correlation between the value of sales and the rise in profits. So that's one thing. But they've often said, and they said again, that pointing out this close correlation, that retail prices are not growing faster than costs, that the company is not taking advantage of inflation to drive profits. But as for where prices are going from here, will there be any kind of relief? Well, Galen Weston, the very top boss of Loblaw, said that he's starting to see some of those costs from suppliers coming down a little in some cases, and yet not in others. So here's what he had to say about what's ahead.
We are seeing some costs stabilize and even begin to reverse in a few areas, and we are actively lowering prices in key categories. However, we still have over 1,000 supplier requests on our desks for significant cost increases. We continue to believe that these inflationary pressures are temporary and that they will ease with time, but predicting how long that will take is proving extremely challenging.
Now, Galen Weston may be in for a challenging time of his own, along with the CEOs of Sobeys and Empire and Metro, because these top bosses have been called to the House of Commons committee that's been looking into price inflation, Hillary. As you know, that they've been holding hearings, but the company sent underlings to earlier hearings. Now the top bosses have been called on the carpet.